Hey guys, patch 5.24 hit today, and as with most stuff in the preseason, a lot of things change, so let's just catch you up with what you need to know. First thing, the award for the most random ass change this patch goes to Karthus. This guy isn't even that popular, isn't overpowered or anything like that, but got a nerf this patch. Anyway, moving on, these champions on the screen got minor changes this patch, so I'm not going to go into them now, but if you play them, go and read the patch notes. It's nothing that will majorly affect them or majorly change how you play against them, but they are changes that make them slightly better or slightly worse. Now these changes, however, are stuff you do need to know, so I'm going to get you back up to speed. So masteries, first one, Feast. This is the killing a unit gives you 20 health, and the cooldown is now 25 seconds instead of 20. Still good if you're going to be fighting all the time, so if you're an aggressive early game champion, take it. If you're more focused on farming or just a passive player, then you might as well take the extra 2% damage next to it. The further keystone, this got a pretty hard nerf this patch. It's still going to be good for very attack speed reliant champions, but nowhere near as strong as before. The biggest thing is it now doesn't stack on minions and only on champions. One of the reasons it was so good before was because you could stack this up and then fight, but that doesn't work anymore. The Deathfire's touch keystone got hit as well, so in theory this still does the same damage, but now just over 4 seconds instead of 3. The reason I say in theory is because really it's a damage nerf too. You'll be using another spell before the 4 seconds in most cases, so you'll lose the last few ticks of damage more than you did before. It's not terrible, but I think that actually Thunderlord's Decree is probably better on most AP champions now. Speaking of Thunderlord's Decree, it also got a buff this patch. Okay, yeah, it's only like an extra 0.1% attack damage ratio, but still, it was already strong, made better by alternatives getting nerfed, and now it got a buff. Unless you have specific synergy with Deathfire's touch, this will be the go-to keystone for mid laners, and even some AD carries now too. The reason I say AD carries is also because the arm penetration on precision went up by quite a bit. If you're a burst AD carry like Graves or even Ezreal, then going down the cunning tree could actually work pretty well. I still have to test this, so don't go into game, try it and flame me if it doesn't work, but in theory it should be pretty cool. The last change in the cunning tree is the addition of a new mastery, the Assassin, next to Biscuits and Runic Affinity. This is actually a good choice really for any champion that doesn't want Biscuits, especially mid, top and jungle. It doesn't really work for AD carries as much because you're always around someone else. Tank masteries are also getting nerfed this patch. Unyielding and Veteran Scars are having their percentage down or just removed for a flat amount instead. This kind of makes sense, tanks were getting way too many percentage gains from mastery points really when combined with their items as well. The keystone Bond of Stone though is also getting a tweak this patch, well kind of a small nerf actually. The damage reduction while alone is up to 3%, but with an ally it's down to 6%. And it's still going to be good though, it doesn't really change too much and it's going to be worth taking on low damage tanks or supports. This change annoys me because I just released a video about offensive items for AD carry and now they've changed it a couple of days later. Basically the passive proc damage with static shiv and rapid fire cannon doesn't stack anymore, so only one of those passives will proc. Really, you don't want to buy both anymore, there's not really that much point, you'll lose a lot of gold, and with Phantom Dancer getting a little buff this patch, you'll probably be getting fire cannon early and Phantom Dancer later. There are actually 6 champion changes that I think are pretty big this patch, and will actually make a difference if you play them or play against them. Mindo first, and yeah, he definitely needed a nerf. I'm not so sure this is really the answer. Jungle Mindo is definitely getting hit this patch, with his Q dealing less maximum damage to monsters, and his E now needing ranks to do more damage rather than just a flat amount from rank 1. The Q change is only really going to affect his ability to do objectives as easily later into the game, it won't affect his early clear too much really. The E change though is what will hurt more probably, and will hurt both top and jungle Mindo. Before you could kind of just auto and then E straight after for a huge chunk of damage, while you can still do that, he won't be doing quite as much damage early, which will make it easier to try and kill him early and set him behind. I'd still ban this guy honestly, it doesn't reduce his power enough to have that huge an effect. Okay, Soraka, and this is probably the biggest nerf of all, but thank fuck for that. First, her Q, her star call, the annoying pokey thing that heals her, is getting its range taken down. Pretty nice, makes her a little less obnoxious to lane against. This one is funny though, her heal has its mana cost doubled. Now that one is a pretty big nerf right there. Not only are you going to be paying 10% of your max health to heal, but also a chunk of mana now. There is no way she'll be able to heal as much as before now, especially not in the lane phase. The idea really before was you heal and then you poke and get that health back with your Q. With the mana cost going up now, you won't be able to heal and spam Q at the same time anymore. The last thing is your ultimate now no longer removes grievous wounds from people, and with how that works now in the preseason, it's not really the biggest change, but it's still going to be another nerf. Next up, Hecarim. Hecarim wasn't even that popular really, and he wasn't like Mundo where he was overpowered either, but he got a pretty hefty nerf this patch. The combination of lowering his base health, health per level, and removing his unit collision is going to make his lane phase a lot weaker. If you play against a Hecarim, you'll have a much easier time bullying him pre-6, and in my opinion this was a bit over the top, like he wasn't that great anyway, and now you're making him even worse. Kindred is the weirdest champion, honestly. You can play her in almost any role and she can do well. These changes are aimed more at her early to mid game than anything else though. The heal on her W will suck for her early clear and her early trading. Taking a third off that heal is actually pretty significant. The ultimate change does make sense really though, it's just trying to slow her down a little bit and make it so that if you blow her ultimate you have a bigger window where you can punish her now. The Nidalee changes are a really nice buff and she will definitely be played more, but it's not really about the changes specifically itself. Nidalee was already strong, she just has a pretty high skill floor. What I mean is like you have to actually be good with her to get anything done. The items she builds are strong right now, and with this buff more people will try her and find out she's strong and she'll become popular again. This Quinn nerf is actually hitting her early game as well as her late game. The base damage is going down on her Q, which will make her a bit weaker mid game, but they're also taking the AD ratio down late game too. She'll still be really good as she has the Harrier procs on her Q, the blind, and the mobility just to catch people off guard mid game, but she'll be a little bit easier to manage and shut down earlier now. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that catches you up to speed with all the stuff and you know what you're doing now. If you liked it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in my next video.